Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole with Made from Scrap, and today I'm going to do a quick little walkthrough of this fun mini album that I created using the What's Brewing paper collection from Country Craft Creations. This is the 8x8 size of the paper, and I used lightweight chipboard for this little mini album. I also used some other paper cardstock from my stash, and I created this fun little belly band that goes around the book itself, and it is a pocket. So the idea is that you could stash a little mini card in here, and probably a gift card would also fit here as well. So this is what I put together. This is just a little card here in the front, intended to be a little card anyway. And that is the pocket. So just like that, that's fun. And then we have the cover, the outside cover that measures 4.5 inches wide by 8.25 inches tall. I went ahead and just covered the front and back of that lightweight chipboard with my cardstock, and then I layered on top of that some of the pretty patterned paper. I have a spine piece here that is just cardstock used that wraps around from the front all the way to the back as a larger hinge. And then I have the inside pages that are made from cardstock, and those are attached to the covers using another hinge just from the cover in this case to the next page, and then page to page and so on. So I'm going to do a little walkthrough here. This is how I've decorated this little mini album. It's a cute little size. I have a little tuck spot here, and then I used just a portion of the cut aparts and glued this down just to create a fun little hinge. But this is just like a mimic of a little mini paper pad here. But you can use it for photos. And then I have a tuck spot in here using some of those cut aparts. Next page, I did a fun little layout for 2 little photos. And then I have one here and just backed this cut apart here. The next page, I went ahead and put a couple of photo mats here, and I used some of the cut apart for gluing right here. And each of one of these I'm leaving open just a little bit so I'd be able to tuck the picture underneath just like so. And then this is a portion of the cut apart that is the bottom of the cut apart page. So that's a little border strip that I use to do the same thing, and then I just tore the edges here just to make it look like a washi tape. Okay, this one I went ahead and I used a little foam dop to pop this up. Now this doesn't have any gussets, so you got to be careful with making anything thick in here, because that's going to affect the size that you do for your belly band and whether or not your book is going to have what we call it an alligator mouth or thicker at the outside of the pages than at the spine. So, but this is what I did here. I left this open. I just think this is beautiful paper right here, but a little mini photo and then a larger photograph here. And then on this page, I went ahead and made a little belly band just like that, and put one of the cut aparts there. And this is just a little trifold here that you'd be able to stick, you know, either some journaling or 6 photographs there, whatnot, and that just tucks right in. And again, here's the green paper. And then here I went ahead and just created a little pocket just by gluing on 3 sides. And here are some more of the cut aparts. Okay. Here I just went ahead and again used one of those cut aparts so that I could stick a photograph underneath. And then that is the inside of the back cover. So just like that, this little belly band will just slip right down, just like so. All right, let's get into making this little mini album. We have our 2 pieces of lightweight chipboard that I already cut down to 4.5 inches by 8.25 inches. I have my cardstock that I'm going to be using for this project for both covering these right here and also the pages themselves. So what I want to mention to you is you're going to have a couple of strips which measure 2 inches wide, and I cut these down to 7 inches tall. And you need one for the outside of your book for the spine. Then you need one for the cover to the first page, one for the back cover to the last page, one for attaching page 1 to page 2, page 2 to page 3, and page 3 to page 4. So I am going to have 4 pages and then the covers. So that means I'm going to end up with 6 pieces of these strips that measure 2 inches by 7 inches. So count how many pages you want in your little book and then add 2 more. Now, one of them you're going to set aside, but the other 5 you're going to go ahead and score. So we're going to grab our scoreboard and we're going to place these in our scoreboard. And we're going to go ahead and score them. Why is this not measuring 2 inches? Let's see. Did I cut it wrong? I'm using scraps, so I want to just grabbing these. I'm going to make sure they're 2 inches. Not that it's really going to matter. See? They were not. There we go. Okay, now I have a 2-inch strip. 2 inches by 7 inches, like I said. So we're going to place these in our scoreboard with the 2 inches at the top, and we're going to go ahead and just score at 1 inch. So right down the center. That's the only score mark that we're making on these, and these are to attach the book pages to the cover itself. So I'm going to set that aside, and each one of these is going to get scored, burnished, I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and score these in half and burnish them. And these are going to be our hinges that attach one page to the other. Another way that you could do this, just like if you're making a junk journal, is to use some linen tape. So if you have any of that, just you go ahead and try that as well. It's really fun. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and glue this. So if this is the open book, this would be our spine in the middle. So we want to make sure that our folded hinges are attached so that they are on the inside of the book. So I'm going to go ahead and place glue down on our hinge. And again, attach that. I'm just eyeballing it top to bottom. You can use your grid mat if you want to be precise. But I just lay that first one down and go ahead and burnish. Okay. Then what you want to do, so that's your hinge. Then what you want to do is place glue on this hinge. And then you're going to take your page and lay that down on top. Okay. And burnish that. I just refilled my glue bottle and it is a mess. But that's okay, it dries clear, so I'm really not worried about it. As long as your page is not sticking to your your book cover, that's fine. So I'm going to attach each one of these pages with a hinge. And each time I'm going to be placing that folded portion of the hinge towards the center of the book. Okay, so I am just aligning it with the one that I placed underneath so that they're stacked right on top of each other. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing this until I have all 4 pages in my album. Now this is a fun way just to make a very quick little mini album to gift. Go ahead and place this one. Use up some of those scraps that you have, that you've been collecting. Okay, and last one. Okay, I want to make sure to place this last one on here. This is going to be my front page, first page, in other words. Opening it up each time. 1, 2, 3. Yep, so this is going to be my 4th page here. For the last hinge that we had folded, we're going to go ahead and glue this and connect our first page over to our front cover. Okay. Okay. And lastly, our cover to our front page. This is fun. You can make this right along with me if you have all your pieces cut. So just like that. Cover. That. Now I cut pieces that are going to cover the actual thin chipboard, and then I have the decorative pieces that are cut just slightly smaller on these pages. Go ahead. Yep, that's my front cover, so I want that to be nice and smooth along the edges. So I want it to match really well. Okay. That's just my first layer. Now I want 2 of the cover. I'm gonna just go ahead and cover this quickly. This is the back inside cover. I'm just putting my brown cardstock right on this lightweight chipboard. And we have one more thing to do as far as the spine before we start putting our decorative paper on. So as long as you have your pieces pre-cut and you're not inking all of the edges like I did with the last one, then this will go even faster in putting together. And what a nice, fun little project. So this is our last piece. I'm just going to make sure to cut this down to 2 inches. I have the same, like I told you. Okay. And on this piece, we are going to go ahead and score at 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, and 1 1/4. So 3/4, 1, and 1 1/4. Okay. Place that aside, and I'm gonna go ahead and burnish these score lines. This is just to give it a little bit of a spine look, that's all. If you don't like the look of that score line in the middle, you don't have to do that. But essentially what we're gonna do is use this to cover up our piece right here. So this is a U-shaped channel, even though we put a score line down at 1 inch. And again, if you don't like the way that looked, you don't have to do that score line. But I'm gonna place glue on these 3/4 inch flaps, and I'm going to simply line this up so that the score line is just barely touching but not being covered by the outside lightweight chipboard. So if I bent this backwards, you would still see your score. And you can just make sure to burnish that down. Okay. Then what you're going to do is wrap this around. Okay. And what we're going to do is, again, we're going to end up with a 3/4 inch gusset on the outside. And make sure that you don't overlap that score line, that 1 1/4 inch score line, over onto your book page, your cover. This way you end up with a little bit of a working hinge on the outside. If you can see that, see how it pokes out? This gives a little bit of working room. Okay, I thought it's just a cute look to the book. And then this will open up just like so, each page as you flip it, and you just need to work each one of those 4 pages. See, and make sure none of the glue is sticking to any of your pages, because if you have a glue bottle that you just filled, maybe you have that going on. Anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and place my pages onto this book and start the decorating. Okay, so now for the belly band that I created that is a pocket, I am taking 2 additional scrap pieces that I have that measure, let's see, I'll cut these down to 4.5 by, I'll cut these down to 8.5. So I have 2 pieces that measure 4.5 by 8.5. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead, because I want a decorative edge, I'm going to go ahead and use one of my punches and just create a quick little decorative edge. Don't forget about those materials that you have in your paper stash. Use them. Get so entangled with the new gadgets that we have, but those gadgets are going to look just as pretty with some of the new paper. All right, clear that off. Okay, so what I did next is use your scoreboard if you like, or you can just fold this if you're more comfortable with a scoreboard. So I trimmed off a little bit of that edge with that punch. So I'm just going to, I want to make sure that the front is shallower than the back portion of this. So that means I want the measurement that is to the left of my score in this case to be larger than what's left of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and score this, I think at 2¼ inches. Let me see, 2.5 inches. Yeah, 2.5. That seems about right. 2.5 inches on both of these. Okay. So put aside. I'm going to go ahead and burnish. This allows this pocket in the front to be shallower. You can see it and it will hold something better. So what I do is I'm going to place these 2 like so. On the end, I'm just going to align my little cuts. I tuck one inside of the other. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. So, place some glue there, line it up again, and burnish it. And because one is tucked in the other, that means the back piece will be off ever so slightly. But that's okay. I'm going to place glue on this side and glue on this side. And that way I can kind of see where the in-between is to put the glue. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that down. Okay. Okay, now we have a longer strip here. Okay. So I want to make sure that I am bending this around my book. Okay, so I'm just working this piece of paper with my hands so that it will have a little bit of a curvature to it. And then I'm going to bring my book in and I'm going to place this on my book. And see, the book was only 4.5 inches long and these pieces measured 8.5 inches wide. So I'm gonna wrap this around just like so. I don't want it to be tight. I want this to have some fluff on it. You definitely want it to be loose because the book, as you fill it, will gain in width, the thickness, and fill it out. So I'm just wrapping this around. And once I get it where I think the book is actually, you can just pinch it and hold it to where you want it. I'm going to make a little mark here. I want these pieces to end up overlapping, so I have them overlapping about, I guess it happens to be about 3/4 of an inch. But where the other thing to pay attention to is to see that this is on the back side of your book still. So I'm going to bring this in to my cutter. Go ahead and place this down and chop it off. And we ended up with a piece that measures 11.5 inches overall. So if you want to make this from one sheet, originally from your 12 by 12 piece of paper, you would just get a piece of paper that measures 4.5 inches by 11.5. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is come back here, wrap this back around just like so, and go ahead and tuck this in to see where it's gonna line up, closest to where it's gonna line up without being too tight. Remember, I still want some fluff in that. And that is where I'm gonna line this one up. So pull that out. Hold this together with our tools, or fingers that is. And I'm gonna go ahead and stuff some glue under here to glue that shut. Okay, just like so. And then I also want to glue this one, and that will be shut. You should end up with something like this. Now, if you want the pocket to only be in the front, then of course you can glue this pocket portion for the back shut. That's up to you. But then all you have to do is slide this over your book, and that is your closure. And you can stick your little odds and ends or gift card in that. And I hope that you enjoyed making this tutorial. I look forward to seeing your project soon. And until next time, everyone, happy crafting, you all. Bye.